But what we're going to share with you this morning is just some of our experiences in our parish and what we're trying to do there.
So just really want to go back to the beginning of our journey. I've always been interested in environment. I studied ecology at A-level and I went on to do geography at university. Peter grew up in the depths of Norfolk and was a keen bird watcher, and then when he retired, volunteered at the Essex Wildlife Trust. So we were both very much involved in the environment. And it wasn't until I retired as well, and we were in COVID, that we sort of made that link between our passion for the environment and caring for the environment and our faith. And that was due to CAPL getting together with Global Catholic Climate Moment, as it was at that time, and putting on those series of global healing videos again, which I'm sure several of you were involved in, I know some of you were involved with. And it really inspired us. We felt called to actually find out more about this. We felt called to go off and train to be animators, to see how we could share that message really with our parish.
Yes, we'll just have to segue. So after we trained as animators, it was our environmental lead, Father Dominic Howard, who gave us the advice. Is it difficult to see? Who kept?
It's really crazy, but it's, you explain it.
Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry if you can't read it. Presumably they'll get sent round. Will they get sent round? Yeah, they'll get sent round afterwards. Yeah. Okay, so Father Dominic gave us the fantastic advice to do the Live Simply Award. And that's a great framework. For those of you who don't know, it's a great framework to start anything like that. And it really gave us a big push in the parish to sort of introduce more Catholic social teaching and the inspiration of Laudato Si. So we already had various groups in the parish, but this was an opportunity to have an overview of the whole thing. We had great support from our parish priest, Father Rick, who allows me to speak whenever I like from the pulpit to the congregation. And if it saves him having to do a homily, he's even happier, I think. But he does allow us to do that, and that's a great thing, because we've found, one of our experiences has been, if you speak directly to people, you get far more response than if you just put it in the newsletter. So that was a really important thing. And another thing that, of course, inspired us was hearing Paul speak about his Laudato Si, his Live Simply journey in his parish.
Okay, so we're going to just talk through sort of what we did to get our Live Simply Award. And as we do so, sort of share our experiences at the same time. So the first thing that we felt was really important as a group, once we set up the group, and there was about sort of 10, 12 initially, there's sort of 8 carried on meeting, was that we needed to sort of share the message really of Laudato Si with everybody. Share the message about why it was so important to reduce our consumerism and change the way that we were living, even just small changes. And actually small changes were just as important as big changes, and that was okay. So we put on a series of videos to share the message. We did the global healing videos initially. Because we were coming out of COVID, it wasn't a brilliant time. People were still very nervous about meeting and things like that, so we didn't have hundreds of people come, but those who came were very committed and very supportive of us. Later on, when the letter was produced, we showed that, and there was a much bigger group who came to that. We'd learned by then that actually it was useful to send out invites to our fellow parishioners within the deanery. So we had key people within different churches that we would send the invite to. In fact, it was no good just sending it to the parish office, it would get lost in all the other emails. Send it to a person you know would think, oh yes, I'd like to come to that, and we'll pop it in our parish newsletter. And we also invited other people from faith communities as well, other local churches and other green Christians within within Colchester, and that was a really good way of sort of swelling the numbers and feeling you weren't sort of doing everything on your own. But we also keep drip feeding the message. You can't do these things off as a one-off and expect everybody to change. We're in a very fortunate position in that we're a growing church. Our numbers did drop away after COVID, but actually we've had lots of new families, lots of young families moving into the parish, and it's important to remember that we weren't here when we first sort of shared the message, and that we need to keep thinking about how we can bring that message to them. So at various times of the year, like Laudato Si Week or the season of creation, and even during Advent and Lent, we produce like a little newsletter which we hand out to all the parishioners, just with simple ideas about prayers they can think about saying, about changes they could make, about almsgiving that they could do, just suggestions really. We're very, very gentle in our approach, but it's that sort of repetition of things really. I think this is a key thing that we wanted to do as well. This came very much through our animators training, that yes, action's great, but you also need to develop that spiritual side as well to sustain you. So we didn't end up just being environmentalists or social workers, that, you know, you had that spirit underpinning everything, and that has certainly sustained us and kept us going. You know, when numbers weren't great and we were thinking, oh, it would be nice to have a few more people turn up at that event, it was just, well, actually God has his own way of working things out. He's a God of surprises, and sometimes things need to just take a little bit longer. Perhaps we need to grow in a particular way. So there'll be a reason for that. So that has been really important. And it has had an impact on the sort of liturgy and the spirituality of the wider parish as well. So we were never a parish who knew nothing about the season of creation at all. We had to do a fast learning curve about that. But now that is embedded in our liturgical year. We celebrate the season of creation every year. We have an open mass at the beginning of creation. We're very blessed in that we've got the primary school that backs onto the church, and they've got a lovely field where we can have the open air mass. And that's just a lovely opportunity. And Peter said, Father Rick has been such a blessing because he's so encouraging. As long as we say, oh, we'll organise it for you, Father, you know, we're not expecting you to do too much other than turn up and say mass. But actually he has grown too, because when he first did it, he kept thinking, you know, oh, Laudato Si, that's the green agenda, isn't it? And we're trying to explain to him there's more to it. And actually he has, you know, he's grown as well, I think, in his understanding of what it was this year, last September. He actually came up with the idea of having a blessing of the pet. You know, that didn't come from us at all, that was him. He loves animals, so that's how that happened. So things grow, and our experience is that it changes as well. Your plan will change as you go, because, you know, the Holy Spirit will lead you in different directions. When we had that first season of creation, we asked the prayer group to write some prayers of intercession. And the idea was that, you know, these prayers of intercession about the quiet environment and the quiet of the poor would be written for season of creation and possibly Laudato Si. But actually, again, without any prompting from us, the prayer group who write the prayers of intercession have taken it, and now every week, pretty much, there are prayers of intercession related to that. So again, it's sowing those seeds. We see ourselves very much about planting those seeds, and, you know, the prayer group, obviously their gift is to write prayers of intercession. They felt called to actually develop this a bit further. We've also been very blessed that one of the people in our group was a school chaplain, and several times a year the church organises an open church where people can come and just be quiet and reflect. And Catherine, who is our chaplain, she has set up, because she's also now retired, so she's also got this lovely time, set up lovely prayer stations around the church. But I think because she's been inspired by Laudato Si and Live Simply, a lot of the prayer stations are to do with sharing stories about people who have been affected by the drought, or deforestation, or migration, or refugees, or vulnerable in some way. Cathal Again, it's just another way of sharing those stories and people's experiences and the Earth's experience with other people. And I think that's really important, just not to think of doing one way, it's in lots of different ways, it will talk to different people. We also organise a monthly creation walk. It's only 3 miles, it's not too far. We always have tea and cake, that's one of our experiences. You put on tea and cake or some sort of food, you'll get the food. That started from Cathal because we signed up to the first big leg walk, it was called Walk for Water, I think the first one. And we had about 35 people come along. But they all said, oh, this is great, can we do this more often? So we thought, okay, yes, we'll do this once a month, but it's a great opportunity to share with people the beauty that is around us. You know, we live in a beautiful part of Essex, we're very blessed, we're right by the salt marsh, we've got beaches, we've got woods, we've got streams, we've got bluebell woods was the last one we went to. It's very local, we put it in the newsletter, so if you want to come, it's 2 o'clock, we try and do lifts, it's a bit further away. So that we're sort of reducing our carbon footprint a bit. And we have prayer as part of it, but it's also chat. We don't walk around silent. I know some people do, but actually it's about building community too, and having those conversations. And there's also a bit of education. So when we did one out at Finley Wick, which none of you have heard of, but it's a really important salt marsh. Peter was talking about why this was so important and why we needed to look after it really. So it's a fun way, I suppose, of getting the message through. But also, as we're out in creation, we also, through our RTC movement, learnt about using creation as a way of encouraging prayer and contemplation. We've run workshops on retreat days with the chaplains within the diocese about sharing those methods really. And Jesus was a great one. How many times in the Bible do you read about Jesus going off to a garden or up a mountain or out alone somewhere to pray? So he is our great example on that one. I was talking about, our experiences that the action plan goals, and the prayer garden is a great example of that. That was never on our initial plan. But dear Father Rick, bless him, said, Peter, I've got this lovely little bit of land in front of the presbytery, which was just a lawn basically. Would you like to develop it into a prayer garden? And this is where you definitely need the Holy Spirit with you. Because Peter and I sort of look after our garden, but we're certainly not gardeners. But we have created a prayer garden. You can't really see it very well because that was on the opening, so we had a prayer service, so they're all standing in front of it. You can see the houses beyond. But that cost us nothing. Absolutely nothing at all apart from people's time. And we were very determined when we started it that we weren't going to ask our friends. We wanted to try and involve people within the parish. So we put something in the newsletter. Peter stood up and talked at the end of Mass. And lots of people who don't normally get involved in things came along because they were quite happy to dig holes or dig over the borders or do things like that. And we use the other talents within our parish. So one of the people in our Laudato Si group is very good at carpentry, and he built us a lovely wooden cross to put in the prayer garden. And he didn't want any money for that, he just did it himself. Other people were happy to sponsor benches or statues or bird baths. We had plant sales to raise money. And we also wrote to our local garden centres, thank you, garden centres, and they gave us a reduced sort of price on things. So it was a great community project really, and it was about, again, putting in plants and things that were bee friendly, butterfly friendly. And then the third sort of target for the Live Simply part was, again, just trying to give people at home simple ideas about changes they can make. Because I think so often people can feel overwhelmed when they see the news and think, well, what difference is it going to make if I do something? How can I, cope with this. So it was trying to share with them ideas. So we started just putting a little Live Simply tip of the week in the newsletter about little swaps, and again it was trying, it was trying to do that gentle, try and consider doing this, or have you thought about doing this, or you could reduce your waste by doing this. So it was trying to share that message really.
Okay, so the second area for Live Simply is to live sustainably with creation. And one of the big things we did was to try and get solar panels on the roof. As it turned out, at the presbytery, because the church hall had asbestos, so that was the end of that. But we managed to put 24 solar panels in the end on the presbytery roof, and that was a big thing. I mean, I spent 25 minutes talking about that, as I was saying before. And it took a while. It took a while to do this. It was 2 years, the project, start to finish, with the first church in the diocese to have solar panels on the roof. And we had to learn alongside the property team in the diocese, because they hadn't done this. There were a couple of schools that had it, but it was necessary really for me to liaise quite a lot with the property team. And in the end, they employed Inspired Efficiency, which were a company that come and do audits and give you advice and so on. So because we were the first one, we had a free audit, came and looked through the whole of the church, the presbytery, and the church hall. And as a consequence of that, we were able to put these solar panels on, and that set up a blueprint really for the rest of the diocese. So the aim is to try and roll that out now to everybody else.
I think the other thing that we want to do is to try and, when we have parish events, to model to people what they can do at home. So I'm sure lots of you have got recycling set up when you have parish events. But it was also where we have food, which we have a lot of events with food in. But what they could do with the waste that was left over. So we have these signs up all around the place reminding people that some stuff can be taken home and frozen, and some stuff can be sent down to the food bank. Also, we've got a night shelter in Colchester and another charity, a Christian charity, who support the homeless. So, where you can, to try and encourage things to be sent there. Father Rick's also very keen on his technology, so he had a screen set up in the church. Initially, that was part of our drive to sort of try and reduce the use of paper. We still have got hymn books in the church for those people who don't go on the screen. And I think that's important to remember that you need to sort of think about everybody's needs. But actually, that's also been, we found, really helpful for those people who are Catholics who can't come along, because the old parish mass books, they're having to flip backwards and forwards all over the place, and they get completely lost. Whereas actually on the screen, it just all flows through, and they feel much more included and much more part of the mass.
Yes, that comes up again and again. Yeah. So the third section is to live in solidarity with the poor. Even though these sections are separate, everything overlaps, everything interconnects, as we all know. And the good thing about Live Simply is that it is a very flexible program. Things happen, and you just have to adjust and adapt, and to take opportunities, when they arise, and you make it relevant to your own parish and to your own congregation. So, for example, our parish we're very lucky, it's a very reasonably affluent parish. We don't have hundreds of people who want to get involved and stuck in, but they're always happy to contribute financially. And that's a really important thing for us, that if I stand up in the pulpit and say, this Advent we're doing this, we're having a second collection, etc., then we do manage to get the funds that we need to support people. So at Christmas we managed to buy several one of the larger catalogue worldviews. We've encouraged that across the whole parish as well now. So first Holy Communion programme, when they wanted to know, parents wanted to know what to buy the catechists, and they said, buy us a little gift. So that way the message gets round to everybody. Okay, so we've also learned to look for other avenues for support. So an obvious one is fair trade. So we wanted the parish to be fair trade. And it's all about education, having conversations. It's not perfect. We still go in and open the cupboard and somebody's put a jar of coffee in there. And I'm sure you've all experienced that. And you move it, put it in the food bank box or whatever. So, you recognise that.
Oh, yeah.
But it's a constant thing. It sort of brings you to educate people and to have conversations with them. We also try and raise awareness of issues affecting the vulnerable overseas, particularly those affected by climate change and so on. And again, very lucky I can stand up and talk about these things. So we have held information evenings, and it takes time to organise, and we don't have hundreds of people, but we've learned to accept that. Advocacy is a really important part of Catholic social teaching. It's the right thing to do. We're lucky that there's the two of us to support each other. That really helps. And we're both retired. So all of that helps. We also support those locally who need our help. So there was an SVP doing good work in the parish, and so much goes on in parishes, doesn't it, that you suddenly find out this person's doing this or this person's doing this. And in fact, one of the things we want to do pretty soon is to get all those groups together. We've got somebody coming in to facilitate the day where we all get together and we all talk about what we do and we think about how we can support each other a bit more. But we have managed to raise the profile of the SVP. We're lucky that Mary's now the president of the SVP. So, as I say, we're looking to get these things moving even further. Local businesses are very supportive of us. For instance, a few years ago we had a rucksack appeal where we sort of filled rucksacks with useful things at Christmas to the homeless, and they didn't cost much at all. You know, we just went to the superstore and said, "This is what we're doing," and they said, "Well, you can have these." So it's very, very useful. You know, and it took a while. Some people are better at going up to people and saying, you know, can we have these things, than others are. I'm not very good at that. It doesn't sit very well with me. But other people don't care. They just march in, you know, and they're very, very useful people as well. So it says weekly friendly Fridays. Just to explain about that, we tried to have a warm hub last year, but it's turned into something else. We're a little bit out from the main part of Colchester, and it's turned into a support group, really companionship. But people do come from outside the parish, people who are lonely, who need support, and so on. And that's just a good way of raising money for Beacon House, which is the local homelessness project in town, Christian project. So it's a very easy way. So we've sent £500 off this year so far to Beacon House, and it's just, you know, a way of doing that. We're very involved with Caritas, Brentwood, sharing resources with them, and we do get great support from the diocese. In a couple of weeks there'll be meetings, Caritas meetings on Zoom across the diocese on cost of living, on refugees, and on the environment. And this is just one of their ideas, which I think is then shared nationally, which is the reverse Advent calendar. Same thing happens at Lent. Instead of getting something, chocolate, you put something in a box every day during Lent or during Advent and so on. So that's worked really well as well in terms of fundraising. Something else that we do to try and support the poor in Colchester is the Giving Tree Appeal. Very simple idea. The confirmation candidates write out labels: girl age 5, boy age 7, stick it on the tree, come into Mass, take a card, go and buy a present, bring it to the carol service. 150 plus presents then go to the Women's Refuge and the refugee organisation in town. So sometimes you feel like you're a little boy with a finger in the dike, you know, but you do what you can do. So that's okay. So we have tried to support refugees in different ways. So there's a local organisation called Calais Light, which you may have heard of, which supports people in Calais, but also more locally. We try to get more people to volunteer for that. We've held evenings to support refugees as well. And as Mary has said, there are other things that we can do as well. So, Catholics Parliament in your parish was a brilliant thing. I'm sure quite a few of you were involved in that. And we tried to carry on with that. And luckily, our local organisation, Swiss Crystal, is really, really helpful. So even though that may have sort of finished now as a project, he's quite happy to contact MP and so on and get time organised. So we've done that several times, and we'll be doing it again later on this year with our new MP. And primary school came and asked the most difficult questions, as they do. And we've got lots of links now with other churches across the deanery.
Okay, so just then reflecting really on what the impact has been. I think when we sat down and thought about it, one of the biggest things I think is that a lot of the things have just become embedded in what we do now at St Teresa's. So we always celebrate Laudato Si week somehow. We always celebrate the season of creation somehow. We always have the open outside masses, as I said, the prayers of intercession are there. We always have the prayer stations of the church, we have the creation book. There's so many things that become embedded. When I was listening to all the things on the news about France, a number of times Laudato Si was mentioned, and I said to Peter, well, I hope our parishioners realise what Laudato Si was, because I think they've had it drip fed into them so many times now. I hope they think, oh yeah, that's that thing that Mary and Peter go on about all the time. But we'll see. So I think people are just more aware. We try to be non-judgmental in how we do it. We've got so many people in our parish who come from overseas. So I don't think it's realistic, we encourage people to think about reducing their flying. I don't think we can say to people, you must never fly again. They've got family, one of our very supportive members, his daughter lives in Brazil. And he is going over in the summer to see her. Now he has got a yacht, I suppose you say that. But you have to be pragmatic about these things. And we feel that different people are at different places on their journey, and it's important to try and find out where they are and then walk alongside them from that point. So that's been our approach anyway.
So over the past few years, things have grown organically for us, really. As a consequence of the things that we've been doing in the parish. God has given us, because otherwise we wouldn't have had it, God has given us the capacity to do plenty of other things too. So to lead workshops and to speak about what we do in different places. And on part of the new vicariate, which has been just set up for Caritas in Brentwood, which is a fantastic thing. But that's, the diocese recognises the significance of this, and how important it is. So yeah, it's led to lots of different things as well.
Okay, and then so finally we were asked to talk about how we promote sustainability. So I think part of it is that sort of constant communication at all sorts of different levels. So part of it at diocesan level, where we meet with others across the diocese, within the deanery as well, churches in the deanery, at parish events, through the newsletters, prompting families and things. I think also there's one-to-one discussions that we have with people. So, we've had lots of people come up and ask about solar panels and how you go about getting there, and about electric cars and that sort of thing. And it's just encouraging people and just being patient, I think, because as I say, God will do things in his own good time.
So the importance of mutual support is fundamental, really. And it's not just the two of us, there's a group of us, there's a priest, there's the diocese, and all the networks that we belong to that support each other. The number of people who come to our LLC meetings and say, I'm alone in my parish. I'm a lone voice in my parish. But they've now joined the group. You know, they've now joined the group, and some of them have gone to do all kinds of amazing things. So, thank you very much. And just to finish with a quote from Pope Francis, not Pope Francis, Saint Francis, maybe it's a Freudian slip, anyway. Just a quote from St. Francis: preach the gospel at all times, and if necessary, use words.